wrestling fans, are you ready?
We're here.
Oh, welcome in, my friends, to the best radio program on the air, the only radio program that's all about wrestling for the fans, by the fans. You are on Windy City Wrestling Talk. I am the host of this crazy train. I am Mike Mercado, without the big guy, Big John Vic today. Don't worry, we have breaking news about the big guy. He is coming back to Windy City Wrestling Talk. That is right, he will be here the weekend of Money in the Bank, so we've cashed in and brought the big guy back. I cannot wait to have him so we can do nothing but talk wrestling like we did back in the day. I am so excited. You guys want to be interactive like you guys are all throughout the week. When you want to talk to us during Raw, you want to talk to us during NXT, during TNA, whatever it is, we're your people. Follow us on Twitter at WC Wrestling Talk, or you can follow the big guy at BWO_BIGGJON. That's BWO_Big John, or me personally at mmercado2333. Don't forget to like the page on Facebook as well at Windy City Wrestling Talk. We have some great stuff always, opinions from our fans, questions, great artwork that we want to bring out. So great stuff. Please, guys, you guys are awesome. Be interactive. Keep the love coming, and we will make this the best radio show in the world. Now, where do we want to start off? Last week we talked about the aftermath of the Shield breaking up, potential Money in the Bank situations that might occur, and we have a little bit more information leading up to it in about 2 weeks. But the biggest story that took over the wrestling world and the internet in general was WWE.com announcing that the company has released a few superstars, 11 in total. And it brought up a lot of interesting points on the internet, a lot of interesting banter, some interesting stories. So we're going to get right to it. The names that came out according to WWE.com, you had Brodus Clay, Camacho, Kurt Hawkins, Evan Bourne, Yoshitatsu, Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, Oksana, Teddy Long, and JTG. Now, this doesn't really come to a surprise for a lot of wrestling fans because a lot of these guys in general hadn't been on television. It's been years, months most likely, but it's been a while since you've seen somebody like Evan Bourne, who throughout the whole time the rumors were going in that they were just waiting for his contract to expire. But the few that kind of it shook, I wouldn't say even shook people, just kind of made people think a little bit, open up their eyebrows a little bit, was Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal. That's the end of 3MB. Now, I found it funny that the WWE released these superstars on a Wednesday. Okay, I think it was Wednesday of this past week. And you had them film SmackDown on Tuesday. So literally on Friday, when you put on Sci-Fi at 7 o'clock, you have 3MB in the middle of the card on SmackDown. And of course, in the world that we live in today, where all the media is intertwined with each other, you had to have an idea that it was going to be a little awkward. Now, the timing is a little interesting that it happened now. But what does this really mean for wrestling? You've had a lot of people come up with different theories, different ideas of what it might actually mean for the company that they've done this move. Honestly, it all goes down to one reason. You have guys like Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family, The Shield, Bo Dallas, Adam Rose, even Rusev, who have came up from NXT. If you want to put Big E Langston, who's had his little bit of a run, you've had these guys who are now the new mid-carders. I don't even want to call them jobbers, but some of them might become the jobbers later on in their careers. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're on television, you're doing your craft. You may not be the top of your craft, but you're on the biggest company on the biggest stage. And you have these new superstars coming up, and you have to get rid of the old ones. But what really happens when you see a release list like this is what could have been. You have somebody like Evan Bourne. Obviously, because of his size, he was always in a disadvantage. But I was there on Money in the Bank when he did his flip off the ladder. Ridiculous. He had a lot of cool spots in his career. Jinder Mahal, good talent, kind of a very generic talent. Another one of those, we're going to bring in a heel, an ethnic heel, and we're going to make him do a bunch of squash matches and kind of just end it. I mean, we've seen a lot of that with Middle Eastern characters, people portraying them. It's a little unfortunate because they haven't been able to get any feet under that. Same thing with the Yoshitatsu. The WWE, for all of everything that they've ever done, all the great that they've done, they cannot get a Japanese wrestler. They can't do it. They haven't been able to do it. They haven't been able to figure it out. Drew McIntyre, it's funny. Remember when I got back into wrestling after maybe about a year and a half off of it, and Drew McIntyre was the chosen one. He was the handpicked guy by McMahon on the storyboards and in backstage. And it just never quite picked up. And it's funny because in this business, in this wrestling business, especially with the big corporation in WWE, it happens so fast. These guys being picked up and brought down. And think about that. You had at one point Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, Yoshitatsu, all the even Justin Gabriel, a bunch of different guys who come from different countries, right? And they want to push these guys, and they didn't know exactly what they were doing. And now that you've seen Triple H take a little bit more in charge, McMahon's a little bit easing off the grips a little bit. Guys like Bad News Barrett, Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio, Cesaro, all people from different countries, have that European feel to them, have that Hispanic feel to them, and they've done the right things. They've made the right pushes, and you can't fault someone like a Drew McIntyre for not getting there. He was not pushed the proper way. And it gets into this whole idea of how should you push a character, a heel? Does it work like I think it was Bleacher Report had an article about this actually, about what it takes to make the proper push for a heel. And it's interesting because it's right. Like, you don't want to see 6 straight weeks of him squashing local talent and making other superstars, less push superstars, look weak. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. And it's funny because as this whole story unfolded, you just kind of felt bad for the guys. But Gregory Helms, the Hurricane, on Twitter really put it in words that should make any superstar feel a little bit better about themselves. And that even though WWE is kind of the mecca, it is the biggest stage, there's so many wrestling companies in this country. And not just in this country, around the world. AAA in Mexico, New Pro Japan Wrestling, just Ring of Honor, just so many great, well-known independent circuits and different countries. So these, like he was saying, he loved the WWE. He made a lot of money in the WWE, but it's not the end of their careers. And I think that's what we have to take away from there. So I've wanted to hear your thoughts. You guys have been amazing on Twitter and on Facebook, but I really want to know what you guys think about these releases and what does it mean for potential future superstars that your character could go down that way really fast. I think it's a really interesting topic. Let us know what you think on Twitter at WC Wrestling Talk. You can follow the big guy at BWO_Big John. Or you can follow me personally at mmercado2333. And another kind of funny thing from the release was Kurt Hawkins was on Twitter, kind of making jokes, making light of the situation. And Mark Henry, though, posted this on June 12th. Here we stand 18 years in August, still here. This is right after the release of all these superstars. And Brian Myers, at the Kirk Hawkins, of course, at Mark Henry, here we still stand here. And he replies, your colleagues lose their jobs and you tweet that? You're an idiot, Mark. Well, Mark Henry responded. I gotta love some Twitter beef, huh? Here we go. At the Kurt Hawkins. First, I don't often explain myself to no one. But I had no idea anyone got let go. It's sad. I was asked to post about B-Day. Okay, so asked to post about his B-Day. Then Mark Henry continues, that's what came out. It was about my 18-year journey. I know where you live, dude. It's a small road. An apology is due. If not, well, you know me. I'll handle our biz. Well, I'm glad to know that some grown man can, act maturely, but Jesus Christ, Kirk Hawkins, I know you're a big dude. Do you really want to mess with a man known as the strongest man on the earth? Really? The strongest man on the planet? Is that what you really want to deal with? I'm telling you, you never know with these muscle-bound crazy dudes. One of the other things that's coming up, obviously, is Money in the Bank, though. All these releases out of the way, it was guys that we all saw coming. But let's get to the stuff of the superstars who are actually going to be here on June 29th, getting ready for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, so far, we've only had 5 entrants. On SmackDown, you had Bray Wyatt beat Dean Ambrose in an angle match. Obviously, you have all these different things going on. Orton was put into the match, kind of again another angle, but he had been hurt. He messed up his shoulder, so it's interesting to see what happens from there. Sheamus was beat Bad News Barrett to get in there. Alberto Del Rio beat Dolph Ziggler, as we talked about last week, in a big controversy that people are so upset about the whole Dolph Ziggler not getting pushed, and Cesaro beating RVD. So you have 2 spots for 2 more guys. Now, if you're asking me right now, it has to be John Cena just for the Bray Wyatt angle of it, and it has to be Kane just for the Daniel Bryan angle of it. So at that point, you're looking at a match of nothing but former champions. The only two guys in that match would be Cesaro and Bray Wyatt, who have never had a major push like that, a major title run. Now, I honestly want you to sit here and tell me, and I want you guys to tweet me this at WC Wrestling Talk or at mmercado2333. Do you really honestly believe after Money in the Bank, after we leave that pay-per-view, that there will be a champion that you did not see coming? Because I'm looking at this right now, and even though they're going to try to pull the wool over our heads and do something crazy, you're really telling me that there's not a good chance John Cena or Randy Orton or Kane come out of their champion? Now, if Bray Wyatt comes out of there, then you just got to continue this John Cena story. And who really wants to see that? Do you really want to see that? Do you really want to see John Cena beat him for the third time? For a title this time? The only man that makes sense in this whole thing is Cesaro. And it only makes sense if it's the Brock Lesnar angle that eventually leads to the Daniel Bryan angle. But that's why it won't happen, because it makes too much sense. Now, I will eat crow if it does end up going that way. I would love for it to go that way. It should go that way. But I have a feeling you're going to see someone like Orton or Kane just for storyline reasons to win over that title. It's I don't know what else to say about it. That's just kind of how I feel about it. Hopefully by next week, though, we're going to have some more information on the matches. You have the one thing that was just released today was for the WWE World Tag Team titles, you're going to have the Usos versus the Wyatt family. Now, they could go the Shield way of doing it and give the Wyatts, Luke Harper and Aaron Rowan, the tag team titles, give Bray Wyatt the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and just let the Wyatt family keep going on their journey, skyrocketing on top. Because we know Bray Wyatt, Bad News Barrett, Roman Reigns, Cesaro, they're all made guys right now. So, but if there's the outside dark horse, I would love to see Cesaro, but Bray Wyatt, John Cena, Randy Orton, and Kane make too much sense when it comes to storyline, or at least I could see it making sense to the upper management over at WWE of where they might want to go with that. And the other pay-per-view coming out actually this weekend, probably while you're listening to the show, is TNA's Slammiversary 9. Now, of course, you guys all know we try to talk TNA, but it's kind of hard, they make it a little bit hard for us, right? But a quick rundown again, it is this Sunday, June 15th. So in this year's Slammiversary, the main event is the Steel Cage match. Now, Samoa Joe is scheduled to face Bobby Lashley, and Austin Aries is scheduled to challenge Kenny King. The winner of those two matches will meet Eric Young for the TNA World Championship in a main event Steel Cage match. Some other things that are going on there. You have the Texas Death Match, EC3 versus Bully Ray. Kurt Angle will actually announce a new TNA Hall of Fame inductee, so that's kind of cool. In a ladder match for the X Division Championship, you have Manic versus Tigre Uno versus Crazy Steve versus Sanda versus Eddie Edwards versus Davey Richards. So you have a lot of guys getting ready for that X Division. We all know in TNA that X Division is the next level title. Then you have for the Knockout Championships, Angelina Love versus Gail Kim. Gail Kim throws out a hell of a match every single time. Bobby Lashley versus Samoa Joe. Willow versus Magnus. Cowboy James Storm versus Mr. Anderson. Austin Aries versus Kenny King. And for all you people down in Texas, is a special one for you guys. The Von Erich family will appear at Slammiversary this Sunday on TNA pay-per-view. We have so much more to get into, guys. This is Windy City Wrestling Talk. Don't forget, we are interactive everywhere in the universe. We're on Twitter at WC Wrestling Talk. And you can follow me at mmercado2333. We'll be right back with the best wrestling show on the radio.
Concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. He doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard, whether it's the beat of the mic. He feels so unlike everybody else, alone, in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know, but no, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about reality and making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That means when he puts it down, Talk's picking it up. Let's go. Who the hell is he anyway? He never really talks much, never concerned with status, but still even him starstruck. Humble through opportunities given despite the fact that many misjudge him because he makes a living from writing raps. Put it together himself, now the picture connects. Never asking for someone's help or to get some respect. He's only focused on what he wrote. His will is beyond reach, and now it all unfolds. The skill of an artist. This is 20% skill, 80% gear, be 100% 100% clear, cause Ryu was ill. Who would've thought he'd be the one that set the West in flames? And I heard him wreck it with the crystal method, name of the game. Came back, dropped Megadeth, took him to church. I like Bleach, man. Ryu had the stupidest verse, this dude is the truth. Now everybody giving them guest spots and stocks through the roof. I heard him with that stock. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. They call him Ryu, he's sick and he's spitting fire and Mike got him out the dryer, he's hot. Found him in Fort Minor with top, but a fucking nihilist porcupine. He's a
Thank you for making Windy City Wrestling Talk a part of your day. You can follow us everywhere in the universe. We're on Twitter at WC Wrestling Talk. You can follow me at mmercado2333. And the big guy comes back right before Money in the Bank, Big John. So follow him on Twitter at BWO_BIGGJON. So we got some interesting stories coming up for you, some news stories. Last week we were talking about Randy Savage finally getting his DVD being made, and now a new rumor is going around that he will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, they're making a new DVD right now with his brother Lanny Poffo is in it, and they talk about all the rumors, like we said last week, about Stephanie and his move to WCW, his whole career, the whole family in general. It's going to be an interesting DVD. But one of the other stories that came out from it was the names of the potential Hall of Famers in 2015 WrestleMania 31. Now, one of the big names, obviously, is The Rock. It's out in California. He's in Hollywood. And it's about that time. He needs to be a Hall of Famer. So The Rock is looking to go in there. Macho Man Randy Savage. Kevin Nash to finish off the little clique getting into before Triple H. You have Victoria or Mickie James. Now that's interesting. So that means that at one point, both of the ladies are going to be in there. Personally, I'm a huge Victoria fan. Chi-Town girl, what's up? Awesome to have her. It'd be great to see her as a Hall of Famer. Mickie James, obviously another really good one, kind of in that mold of Trish Stratus when she came up here in that rivalry, and she just had a little issues outside of the ring. So again, who doesn't with John Cena? So that was an interesting one. And of course, the big guy, making it easy for all those big guys who have moves, Rikishi may go in as well. So that's a pretty cool WrestleMania 31 Hall of Fame group. I would love to see those guys all in there and getting the recognition that they deserve as Hall of Famers. You know, that's great. That's the one thing. Even if you weren't per se a WWE superstar, I feel like if you made a contribution into the wrestling world, you should be in the Hall of Fame. Somebody like Sting, who, again, you know, every time we do a different show is a new one, so I'm not talking about Sting at all. But as we just said, Randy Savage looking to get into the Hall of Fame in 2015, right around the same time as his new DVD, and some great names already looking to get into the next class as well. And another thing, if you guys watch the WWE Network and you follow me on Twitter at WC Wrestling Talk or at mmercado2333, you know I'm a big fan of the network and Legends House. I got really into it over the last few weeks. And on Thursday's episode, I wouldn't even say it was a big story, but a big moment in the series and kind of the way the world is changing is Pat Patterson announced that he was gay. Now, it's not a big deal that he was gay because it's 2014. That's great. But the emotion that you saw from a 73-year-old man having to hide that was beautiful. And you see these, not just from that announcement, but seeing the Gene Okerlund story about his wife giving him a kidney. And you hear Jimmy Hart being one of the toughest SOBs, you know, losing a daughter. And even Hacksaw Jim Duggan losing his first wife. I mean, it was very emotional. And you get to see the scarred souls, I guess is the best way to say it, that these wrestlers really are, because that's what it is they're scarred souls. And a lot of people say that about a lot of different forms of entertainment, comedians, actors, that they have bad, that they have bad upbringings, bad moments, that they needed that. So, or at least it helped them get into the level that they're at right now. So I was personally touched by it, and I thought it was a great episode. And I thought it was just great. I thought it was fantastic. Some other ones that kind of came up, Rey Mysterio's contract had been renewed. Everybody knows that he has been injured a lot, so it was explained that this wasn't necessarily a mutual decision, as WWE contracts can be frozen in any event of an injury, and Mysterio has racked up plenty of them over the last few months. So that's an interesting one. But it got us to, especially from this article over here on Bleacher Report, of could it potentially mean, that's right, we're going there, a CM Punk return. Now, here's a quote from section 10.2B of WWE Standard Talent Booking Contract. Ready? In the event that the wrestler is unable to wrestle for 6 consecutive weeks during the term of this agreement for any or no reason, including without limitation due to an injury suffered while performing services at promoter's direction, promoters shall have the right to therefore after terminate this agreement, suspend wrestler either with or without pay, and or extend the term of the agreement for a period of time equal to the entire period of an inability to wrestle or any portion therefor. Now, I'm not, like it says in the article, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not exactly sure what exactly that means, but it really does sound like it's 2 different situations, because WWE knows that Rey Mysterio, like I just said, wants to go to AAA wrestling in Mexico, while CM Punk just wants to stay retired. So it's an interesting dynamic. I'm personally, you guys all know how big of a fan of CM Punk I am. I don't know if he's coming back or not, but the internet these days, they're just feeling the fire, and one day you're going to hear that static go, and God knows what's going to happen. And speaking of Mr. Phil Brooks, look who he married. According to these reports, on June 13th, that's right, Friday the 13th, in Chicago, CM Punk, Phil Brooks, married AJ Lee. Congratulations, you two. Obviously, we all knew about the engagement, and we saw them at a Cubs game a few weeks ago. So, great stuff. Phil Brooks, AJ Lee, CM Punk, all of them, they're all having a good time, married. Take it easy, buddy. I hope you enjoy it. And please come back to wrestling soon, bud. We miss you. We have fun more stories to end the show coming up next here on Windy City Wrestling Talk with Mike Mercado.
Hi there. I'm on my way, I'm making it. I've got to make it show, yeah. So much larger than life. I'm gonna watch it grow with
I see what you did there, Secret Producer Man. You did a WrestleMania 22 Chicago theme song, huh? That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. You're on Windy City Wrestling Talk. We've had a fun show today. We've been just talking about the WWE releases, some news stories of Macho Man Randy Savage, Pat Patterson, and of course, everything Money in the Bank and TNA Slammiversary. And, you know, to get you guys home and for you guys to enjoy the rest of your weekend, we always do a top 5, top 10 list. Well, today I thought it was a little different. I went on to Sports Illustrated, who had a really cool article from June 13th of Game of Thrones and WWE, the characters, whether they match and who they would be more alike. And I'm just going to go through a few of them. I thought they were fantastic. Obviously, as the Wardens of the West, the Authority, Tywin Lannister is Mr. McMahon. Cersei Lannister is Stephanie. You have Jaime Lannister, Triple H. Just some good one. Dolph Ziggler is Jon Snow. Tyrion Lannister is CM Punk. Daenerys Targaryen, obviously Khaleesi is a Daniel Bryan. Just so many good ones. You have Sansa Stark as John Cena. I love the internet. This is exactly why the internet was made the way it was, is so that you can see cool stuff like that. There's a few good ones. Let me see what else. AJ Lee is Arya Stark. So some good ones. Bret Hart as Ned Stark. There's a whole list of them. So you could actually go on my Twitter at WC Wrestling Talk, or you can go on our Facebook at Windy City Wrestling Talk. Give us a like while you're there, and you can read the whole list. There's some really good stuff there. And I mean, you know, obviously when it's wrestling, it's just a lot of fun. And wrestling, Game of Thrones, it doesn't get much better than that. Wow, Secret Producer Man, it's time to go home already? Wow, what a show. What a show. We've had a great time. Next week, we have a special guest, my man Vito. He's going to come in, and he's going to talk to us everything about wrestling, the smartest perspective I know. He's a good Twitter follow, too, so make sure you find him on my Twitter. You can find us everywhere in the universe. The show is at WC Wrestling Talk on Twitter, or you can follow me personally at Mercado2333. And the big guy returns the weekend of Money in the Bank, so follow him on Twitter at BWO_BIGGJON. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at Windy City Wrestling Talk. All your comments, all your discussions, anything you want to hear on the show, please let us know. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And for all the fathers out there, for all the single mothers out there, happy Father's Day. Please be safe. And I will see you next week with the big guy here on Windy City Wrestling Talk.